To the US now, where voters in Georgia are deciding the final Senate contest in the country. They're choosing between Democratic Senator Raphael Warnock and Republican football legend Herschel Walker after a 4-week runoff blitz that has drawn a flood of outside spending to an increasingly personal fight. The outcome of today's contest will determine whether the Democrats have an outright 51-49 Senate majority or control a 50-50 chamber based on Vice President Kamala Harris's tie-breaking vote. In a last-minute appeal, Mr. Warnock joked about his opponent's sporting past, while Mr. Walker told voters he could make their vote count.
My opponent is a vote for Joe Biden and a vote for Chuck Schumer, and he's shown you that a vote for me is a vote for Georgia values, and it also is going to give you a voice in Washington because you hadn't had it yet. So I want to say God bless you guys. Thank you guys so much. God bless.
I love this state. I was born in this state. I was raised in this state. I was educated in this state. And I actually live in this state. I love Georgia. I just want to say thank you. Thank you. I love you back. Thank you for the honor of representing you.
And Arise US correspondent Eric Ham joins me now from Washington, D.C. Good to see you, Eric. So voters in the state of Georgia going to the polls today for some unfinished business from the midterm elections. Tell us more about this runoff between the incumbent Democrat and the Republican, who I understand is backed by Donald Trump.
What we're seeing is this is an election cycle that simply has not ended. And right now, we will finally get closure as this runoff will take place, because it will cement the makeup of the totality of the U.S. Congress heading into the next session. And so today we will see this runoff between the incumbent Raphael Warnock and the former football star and Republican Herschel Walker. Now, Herschel Walker has never run for office, and he's never held an office, a political office before. So this is his first time. And as you mentioned, he is in fact backed by the former president, Donald Trump. And since this runoff, many Republicans, Charles, have grudgingly gotten behind him. If we go back to the recent midterm elections, it was the governor of Georgia, Brian Kemp, who actually did not campaign with Herschel Walker, did not do ads for Herschel Walker, did not engage in helping him at all. In fact, during the final tallies, we learned that the governor, who won his reelection very convincingly, got 200,000 more votes than Herschel Walker did. So what we're seeing now is that Republicans are actually getting behind this race, but the polls still show that Herschel Walker is actually down by 1 to 3 points. In addition to that, he has been outraised and outspent by the incumbent Democrat, Raphael Warnock. So many are saying that this is going to be an uphill climb, and we are told that right now the Warnock campaign is cautiously optimistic about its chances of actually getting reelected, while what we're seeing is the Walker campaign certainly has ground to cover. This election also is the first time that we're seeing Georgia's new voting law actually go into effect. And what it did for this runoff is it actually cut the voting time down from about 9 weeks to 4 weeks. But Charles, that has not stopped the level of enthusiasm that we have seen in this race. We know that Barack Obama, the former 2-term president, was there just last week stomping for Raphael Warnock. And already heading into this shortened election runoff, we have seen record turnout in the state of Georgia so far. So many believe that the turnout that we're seeing bodes well for the Democrats, because we know the Democrats have done well with early voting. The question for the Republicans and for Herschel Walker going into this race is, can they make up that difference during the day of voting, which is taking place right now? And we do know that there are sizable lines as people are voting. And the polls will close at 7 o'clock tonight, Eastern Standard Time. And so we should get some idea of where this race stands sometime this evening.
So Eric, if the Republican backed by Donald Trump loses, could that spur some thought in that Republican Party over whether the former president, Donald Trump, is the right candidate for the future?
Absolutely, it will, Charles. In fact, we could see a lot of recriminations if, in fact, Herschel Walker goes down. While this certainly will not determine the outcome of control of the U.S. Senate, the fact that we have seen many of Donald Trump's candidates actually lose many elections that many people thought were elections that Republicans could have and should have won. Remember, as early as January, February of 2022 of this year, many thought that we were going to see a red wave election where a number of Republicans would win convincingly in this midterm election. But what we are now learning, Charles, based on some of those returns that we saw during the midterms, what we are now learning is that independents actually went for Democrats in this midterm election. The first time we have seen the party in power convincingly win independents in a midterm election. Many actually attribute that to some of the, as Mitch McConnell, the Senate Minority Leader, called it, candidate quality. So many believe that the candidates that were put up to run against many of these Democrats simply were not up to par. And that is why the Democrats have not done as well. And of course, the reason for that is because many of these candidates had the endorsement and the support of the former President Donald Trump.
So, Eric, whatever happens today, the Democrats will retain control of the Senate, because in any 50-50 vote, the vice president, who is a Democrat, can break the tie. And we've got about 30 seconds.
That's absolutely right, Charles. What an additional Senate vote will give them is it will give them outright control of the committees, making it easier for President Biden to get many of his nominations and appointments through, which of course have to go through the upper chamber, the U.S. Senate.
Eric, thanks very much indeed. Eric Ham is Arise U.S. correspondent, and he was talking to me there from Washington.